How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Crypto Clout. In this episode, well, I guess one saying sums it up. What comes down must go back up again, and in crypto, what goes down must return to all-time highs again. And of course, I'm sure there's plenty of people who are scraping that little bit of cream off the top, who were essentially seeing this all green across the board. I think last time I made a video, the market cap was about $10 billion lower, and it's kind of funny to see this much volatility, especially how much it must be affecting people's mentality, when they try and put crypto into a box. It seems like some days it's like the end of the world, Armageddon for cryptocurrency, and then the next day it's like basically having people attracted and FOMOing into the space. So I think it's worthy of dedicating this topic of discussion to Cardano for this video. Now, in particular, what we've been seeing, talk of cryptocurrency regulations. So it has been a very interesting week for ADA, and it has been a pretty volatile 24-hour cycle as well. I mean, anybody who was buying in earlier today is in an interesting position now, seeing some gains. But of course, I want to talk about this level right here, and essentially where we can expect Cardano to be meeting resistance levels from this point forward. And I would say that 5 cents is an interesting point to talk about. I mean, recently in the past bull run, well, what you would call, the jump, whatever you want to call it, we saw Cardano reach that 5 cent mark, but then essentially got knocked back down to the lower areas of the 4 cent mark. But I don't think that it's Cardano's fault necessarily. It certainly does tie into a lot of different things that were happening on the international scale involving cryptocurrency, especially when you want to talk about these different banks that were giving warning signs of, about what is it, the international bank makes stark warning about cryptocurrency. Like, these different articles do play a long role, but essentially I would find them meaningless in the overall context, because blockchain has such a application in the real world that it's unprecedented. So when we talk about the dominance of Ethereum among blockchain developers will be challenged, but how, I think that Cardano definitely needs to come up in the conversation with what they've been doing as far as the development of their blockchain, and how we've been expecting to see Cardano in particular with the Shelley and all these different things, entering Shelley phase Q1 2019, high potential. Now, some interesting things on that note. Then of course Cardano has been receiving some praise for its development as far as blockchain is concerned, which is something that I think will be important to tie into the conversation that we have in this video. So now there are a lot of different news articles to talk about. Augur is joining in on the fun, up 28%. Tron suggests almost 16. BCH developer unveils. These different things are all relevant today, so we're going to be talking about them and more. And basically all this similar, just business as usual sort of conversations happening in the cryptocurrency space. But I think this video will be a good opportunity to discuss exactly what is behind the volatility that we've been currently seeing. And I think that it's also important to talk about Cardano in terms of blockchain, and of course what we can be expecting to be seeing from Cardano and among the greater cryptocurrency space as the next couple of months lie before us. And of course I'm going to stick to my guns. I think right now this is sort of a dead cat bounce. I expect things to get much worse before they get better. I'm still betting on the fact that we'll probably be seeing the less than $3,000 Bitcoin before the public catches on, before we see the big bull run to end all bull runs, the next big jump, subsequently followed by probably a 95% hit to the space, as the trends tend to be, in the various different cycles. It's not uncommon to see. So of course, I think it's also important to look at Cardano from the perspective of the competing cryptocurrency space. I mean, first you have to take into consideration, Bitcoin was essentially the introduction of digital gold, and then we have Ethereum with smart contracts, and essentially what Charles Hoskinson brings to the table with Cardano posits the marriage between the cryptocurrency blockchain space and essentially what amounts to the academic space sort of overlapping with what cryptocurrency makes available. And I think that this is going to go a long way as far as this time of talk of regulations and all these different things, because essentially with all the different colleges that have been basically having these new courses in blockchain, kids are going to school now to try and learn to be blockchain developers, programmers for cryptocurrency. They want cryptocurrency is basically going to be one of the most sought after jobs, and right now it is very attractive to upcoming people who go to school for coding and stuff like that. It's no secret that there's a huge opportunity, people who want to work on these different spaces. But of course right now we are sort of suffering from a limited amount of people with hands-on experience who when you have to think about it, I mean, it's like oil. When there's enough money to be made, there's plenty of people who will come out of the woodwork who will pump that shit out of the ground. But in cryptocurrency right now, I mean, obviously the better minds are busy elsewhere. However, I think it's important to talk about how Charles Hoskinson has essentially amassed for himself an important team of people who I think are going to be driving this technology into the future in a big way, with that sort of vision of what the world is actually going to look like when cryptocurrency is able to have its day in the sunlight, that sort of media attention like we were seeing when Bitcoin was able to reach its all-time highs. So essentially, yeah, I mean, Shelley on its way. This is also something to pay attention to as well. I'm definitely excited to see how Shelley is going to basically we have the story of crypto hasn't changed much. I mean, Ripple doing their things, XRP with their XRapid, I mean Tron with their mainnet launch, and now I think Cardano is definitely up next with this Shelley. I mean, certainly Cardano I think is aiming for their rightful place in the top 10, and I do stand by that. I think Cardano definitely belongs in the top 10, and in the long term I think that it's pretty possible for Cardano to have a place in the top 5. I mean, a lot of these forks like Bitcoin Cash, I mean, and all Bitcoin SV, they're just going to keep forking, and I think that this is something that the community is aware of, and it's also something that we are going to need to keep an eye on, and it's certainly a deterrent for me. I mean, if I'm going to buy or have any sort of interest in Bitcoin Cash, my money's going towards Bitcoin, just because I'd rather have the original rather than one of these forks, and I think that that's also something that plays into Cardano's favor because of how they've designed the foundation and how it's essentially going to be able to deal with forks that are inevitably going to be coming up in the future, and I think that Charles Hoskinson has demonstrated his awareness of the cryptocurrency space and how things tend to operate, and the fact of the matter is Cardano will always be Cardano, which is something that I'm interested in, and of course draws my attention towards it. And so Bitcoin dominance at 52.4%, market cap at 123,872. Basically interesting to see this sort of jump happening. I mean, and like I said, I mean, Augur taking the day with its 31% increase. I'm also just going to put it out there that you shouldn't take the day-to-day as seriously. I mean, when I buy into a crypto, I'm always thinking in terms of Satoshi at that point, and I think that it's a misnomer to continue to think in terms of USD. That can be very misleading with the day-to-day volatility. I mean, as far as people who are in it for the long haul, the HODL method doesn't always exactly turn out the way that you would expect it if you were planning on trading within even holding for more than a year, holding for 2 years. I mean, it's for the best. I mean, obviously, there's people who are jumping on and off board. I mean, working between Tether and their specific crypto of choice to keep themselves from losing out, which is probably the wise man would do that in the cryptocurrency space. But of course, not everybody's a day trader. And of course, I do have some Cardano set aside that I keep at all times, regardless of what happens to the price. And I think that that's, we see at these levels, there's obviously people who will never sell, even if it goes to zero. And those are really the hardcore cryptocurrency believers. And I would consider myself about 30% in that class of people, while at the same time, I consider myself a person who values the ability of being able to take advantage of this moment-to-moment volatility. I mean, this sort of volatility also isn't going to last forever. I mean, the fact of the matter is, once we do see regulations and all these different things influencing the space, it won't actually be as easy to just cut that little bit of foam off the top every single time, which is also something to keep in mind, bear in mind. I mean, the volatility might be stressful, but of course it's not going to be here forever, so you might as well enjoy it while you've got it. But along the lines of Cardano, I'm definitely interested in what ADA is going to be doing in terms of decentralization, and the future is decentralized. I mean, like we've been talking about in previous videos about Cardano, the Wyoming governor giving attention to cryptocurrency, which is also a big deal. Seeing these different legislative bodies giving cryptocurrency sort of the tip of the hat is an indication that the establishment has their ear to the grindstone the same way we do. I mean, obviously all this information is out there, so the fact of the matter is everybody's waiting to see what's next in the cryptocurrency space. And I would also say that the news outlets are certainly definitely interested in seeing where these things are going, and they're ready. Forbes list is ready to start making their articles talking about cryptocurrency like it's the next big thing, the same amount as they're probably willing to put out those FOMO articles. Blow to Bitcoin as international bank makes stark warning. I mean, this is also has been playing into rumors and all these different things. Reputations are big in this space, especially since it's such a big developing cryptocurrency at this point. But I mean, just a few interesting things to go over. But yeah, all that being said, obviously remember this video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. Now, if you guys are interested in sending any feedback to us, you guys can connect with us. That's at CryptoTuber on Twitter. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, found it informative and educational. Obviously, remember, I'm not your dad. This video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. Yeah, but all that being said, I mean, my opinion on Cardano is fundamentally positive. I mean, I could see Cardano being a leading cryptocurrency, in particular with what they've been doing in the academic space. I mean, I know not everybody holds that opinion. Not everybody exactly gives as much merit to the academic space as possible. But when you talk about mass adoption, it's very key. It's a significant thing that needs to be paid attention to, and it's of course a signal that a lot of people are looking for. And of course, if something is going to reach the level of potential that Cardano has at this point, they're going to need to surpass them as far as those academic credentials are concerned. So it certainly is setting up basically a barrier of entry for anyone who's trying to play the same game.